How much autonomy are players given to sort of, I suppose, figure out their own game? They're in this experimental stage now, developing as cricketers potentially. Yeah, what's the balance like between how much you're telling them what to do and how much they're coming up with their own ideas potentially?
Yeah, I guess that's the balance, isn't it? It's, we've got our youngest at 15 and our eldest is 20 now. So I guess each of them are on different stages of their journey, and that's where we've kind of got to think about it from a more individualised perspective. And this group of players will all be on different stages of the journey. So it's going through goal-setting meetings, reviewing individual development plans, and making sure that the program's catered to them as individuals. So, like you say, there's going to be autonomy for players, and there's definitely an ownership piece. But to bring somebody in year one first week and expect the same standards as somebody who's been on an academy program for 2-3 years is probably a hard ask. So I guess it's kind of bringing them in, making sure the environment facilitates the fact that the other players pick it up, and these are the standards that we work to, these are the things we want to achieve as a group. And I think that probably speaks more volumes than me being kind of like a telling them off, you don't do that. So from my perspective, I think the other players play a really crucial role in bringing the new girls up to speed.
And you've got the senior players as well to lean on as well, potentially. You said you've got Lucy, who's working with the players on a coaching basis, but I suppose a whole roster of senior players to, I suppose, provide advice and tips at various training sessions. How useful is that?
Yeah, incredibly useful. Obviously, there's only so much we can do as coaches in terms of like facilitating sessions, and we can give our input, but something I find really valuable is just speaking to players. And I know for these girls, 15, 16, 17, how useful would it be to speak to a professional cricketer? Just ask them how they play the game, what they see, and things that they can use and adapt. So I think from my perspective, tapping into that first team and ensuring that those girls are getting value from the programme they're on, but then equally can they give some value to the academy players? It's incredibly useful for us.
Does that give them a bit of capacity to look into the future as well, I suppose? Because that's where a lot of these girls will be striving to get to, 2, 3, 4 years down the line.
Yeah, definitely, and I think myself and Chris Guest, we're in constant communication around potential opportunities for girls to kind of sit across 2 programs. If players get the opportunity and they're performing, can we give them a little bit of extra stretch and challenge? And I guess the first kind of implementation of that will be on the 20th in Loughborough, when we train as a group that combines first team and academy. So that'll be a pretty good reality check for the academy girls, and hopefully they'll get a lot of value from that, but I'm sure a few of them will step up and hold their own in that space. So yeah, like you say, it's things we're trying to achieve as a group. Definitely they can lean on experience, and definitely can look at that and go, do you know what, that's where I want to be, and I'm going to push hard and work hard to be there.
And someone who's transitioned across that space recently is Josie Groves, and you've got Maddie Ward in your academy group as well. Both those girls heading off to play for England for the under-19s in January. How pleasing is that for you as a coach to see their progression to that point?
Yeah, I can't take any credit. Obviously, the players have put in the hard work, and both of those two that you've mentioned there are incredibly hard-working players, and I think it's testament to the work that they have put in over the last couple of years that they are going to be jumping on the plane to go to South Africa in the new year, and we'll do everything we can do to support those two. But from my perspective, yeah, incredibly pleasing, but more so for them. I think they deserve the opportunities that they've been given, and yeah, as I say, it's pleasing for them that they've been recognised for those opportunities.
And just on a final note, I suppose another thing you've got to balance as regional talent manager is this performance versus development debate. How do you view that role and what you're trying to get from the players over the next year and beyond, potentially, for some of these guys?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it obviously is a fine balance. Inevitably, when you start putting tags like performance sport and pro sport and elite sport on things, it becomes slightly further towards the performance spectrum. But I think we've got to bear in mind that there's windows of time, and something that we're really keen to do this year is to mark out windows and periods of time. We're lucky that the ECB put on 2 festivals for us annually, so I think those are our windows of performance, and we want to go to those festivals with the intent to try and win games, because like anything, it's a skill, isn't it, to be in a window and say, in these 3 days you need to win games. And I think the girls who are going to the 19s World Cup will definitely experience that. You've got two-week window of time to perform, and you need to put in performances there, and I think that's something that they might not have necessarily experienced yet. I know Josie with the first team would have had a little taste of that, but I definitely think in terms of preparing players, we've got to balance both, and we've got to put them in windows that when hopefully they do transition to first team, it's not a shock that they've got to go out there and try and win games for the side. So I think like the future of the Blaze is definitely within this space in the academy. We're looking to push players through, and from my perspective, there's a lot of different factors that are going to go into supporting these players and inevitably making them perform on the big stage, hopefully here at Trent Bridge and other venues around the region.